He is a wonderful comedian. He had a TV show that I adored called Dr. Katz Professional Therapist. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the amazing Jonathan Katz.
To milk the audience just by coming out very, very slowly. How are you? You know, I realize it would be a mistake to talk about comedy rather than do comedy. But having said that, here's the thing about no. I kind of like to start a show with something we can all agree on, and I think we can all agree that child pornographers are the scum of the earth. Am I right about that? Yes. And I think that they should be prosecuted as if they were adults. Honey, they like me. No. I don't know who talks like that. But I don't like to beat a dead horse, but it's not the worst thing I've ever done. You look oddly like a pirate. Do you get that a lot? You know, it's better than looking exactly like a pirate. You know, I started doing comedy in 1981, and since I started, I've been trying to get rid of my fucking notes. I just can't quite do it. I had my DNA tested, came back negative. Before comedy, I was a mentalist. I would go to restaurants in New York City in the Village and read minds, and I had to stop because it's just so hard to tell what people are thinking. When I was 12, I was molested by my rabbi. Usually gets an applause break. Tonight. He said, "Jonathan, any change you find in my pockets you can keep." Many years later, I told that to my shrink, and she said, "Jonathan, that is so lucrative." My wife used to teach sex ed to ninth graders, and one night I said to her, we started fooling around, she said, "Not tonight, I have herpes tomorrow at 8:30. How come she gets the punchline on that joke? I don't get it. Some of you watch the show, have you seen the show Succession series on? Yes. How would, if you could describe the family on that show with one word, what word would you use?
Awful.
Okay. Don't work. It's a show about a horrific family, all into power and money, and they're cruel to each other and to everybody else. And I told my wife, and this is just something that cracked her up. I said to her, "Guess who the next cast member is? They just hired another cast member. It's Gene Autry, the singing cowboy." Now look, you guys are not old enough, and you have no idea who he is. And I'm not sure my wife does. It made her laugh so hard. That's why I love her. Oh. I can't read my own jokes. Sometimes I worry that my references are dated because I'm 73 years old. No, you can't be 70. No, I am. And, the other day I was at a, I wouldn't call it a party. I was at somebody's house for dinner, and there was a very gregarious, kind of funny young woman, and I said, you should be on the stage, and there's one leaving in an hour and a half. I grew up in New York City, but in the summer we would go to upstate New York, where my grandfather had a farm, and he also had a low-budget freak show. He couldn't compete with the Barnum and Baileys of the world. He had a bearded man, a mental midget. He couldn't afford a fat lady. He had a woman who was premenstrual, a little bloated. No Siamese twins. He had two guys with a joint checking account. So a few years ago, I became, this is a word I don't like to use, a philanthropist of sorts. Along with a friend of mine, we opened up the New England Home for Troubled Animals. And the first animal was a goose with Down syndrome. It had a nervous tic. A praying mantis whose faith had been shaken. I asked my nephew the other day if he knows about the birds and the bees, and he said, I can only assume they fuck like people do. Oddly enough, he's so wrong about the birds and the bees. They reproduce in the oddest way possible, both of them. Now, this is where I take a relatively good joke and I deconstruct it to just something not that funny that I said. Okay. Did I mention I was molested by my rabbi? I used to do a lot of benefits years ago, and I did a benefit at the United Nations. It was a benefit for the survivors of a benefit I had done the night before. But I did get to meet the Secretary General of the United Nations at the time, Mr. Boutros Boutros-Ghali, and his lovely wife, Beatrice Boutros. I had the couscous, so. Hey, let's split up the room in half, okay? And on this side, I just want to split in half. No, on this side, I'd like you to go, boom-a-bub-diddlip, boom-a-bub-diddlip. Can you do it? Boom-a-bub-diddlip, 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 boom-a-bub. On this side, I hate myself. I'm so full of self. Diddlip, boom-a-bub. Well, you guys are a great audience. It sounds like I'm leaving. How many people here own an iPhone? Yeah, a lot of you. And how many people here own the iPhone that has this feature where you can say something into your iPhone, and moments later it'll produce the image of the person you're quoting? Anybody else besides me have that? Just me? Okay. Let me see if I can demonstrate that. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Anybody have any idea who said that? Yep. Do you want to tell the audience whose image is on this screen? FDR. That's correct. Is it a gimmick? Let me try it one more time. Eleanor, you're a homely woman. Say it again? What did I do? I woke up this morning with no sensation in my right hand. You sleep in a weird position, you cut off the circulation. I tried moving my fingers and nothing happens. With my left hand, I pinch my right hand, no feeling. I take a pin from the night table, I prick my finger, my wife screams at the top of her lungs. What a relief. Hey, thank you so much.